This is brutal. The Knicks lose to the Milwaukee Bucks by a score of 121 to 111 as they drop their second in a row here early in the season and fall to a 2-2 record. It was a game that featured a lot of scoring, and early on, it looked like the Knicks were well on their way to victory after erupting for 45 points in the second quarter, bringing a lead into halftime of 71-59. But the Bucks quickly answered in the early moments of the third quarter and went on a 7-0 run, slowly and eventually taking the lead from the Knicks, and they battled their way in a back and forth game. And it was actually the Knicks who held a 103-101 lead late in the fourth quarter. But after Jalen Brunson fell and a turnover resulted in a Bucks score, it was 103-103. And from that point on, Giannis was way too much for the Knicks. He amassed 37 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and truly dominated the Knicks in the half court. And we just had no answer for the Greek Freak. And the Knicks take a tough loss on the road, on national television, amidst all the stories of the trade talks between the Knicks and the Bucks in the summer, potentially going forward into next year. Who's to know where we'll be by this time next year? Will Giannis be a Knick? Will he continue his legacy in Milwaukee, or will he be elsewhere? All I can tell you right now is I don't know why Milwaukee would trade Giannis to this Knicks team for anything after what I saw tonight. And that's also subject to change. And there were some positives. Like I said, the Knicks did have their offense clicking on all cylinders as they were playing fast. They were shooting threes. Nobody was able to contain Jalen Brunson. And it looked like the Knicks were going to win this game. From what I can tell you right now is the defense got ratcheted up by the Milwaukee Bucks. They were the home team. You knew they were going to try to answer coming out of half, and the Knicks just didn't match the moment early in the third quarter. Everything that they built in that 12-point lead, surging ahead 71-59, they lost in a matter of 2-3 possessions. And I was saying during my play-by-play space with Deej that I was a little worried about this team when they get too high, when they really start thinking everything is comfortable. They have a tendency to play down to the moment instead of having that killer mentality and stepping on the throat. And you never want to give a home team hope. And what ended up happening is all their strategy of really not allowing Giannis to spray the ball, just letting him, they did a really good job of just letting him take his layups, take his dunks, take his one-on-one moves. You even saw Josh Hart creating steals, causing turnovers, building up that wall, closing out to shooters. You saw none of that in the second half. And quite frankly, the Knicks panicked so many times in that second half, where they unnecessarily helped off of Giannis, creating 3-point opportunities. When you're up 12, you can give up a 2. What you can't do is get the entire team hot from 3. And once again, we see these moments in the game without a Deuce McBride, without a Mitchell Robinson. I'm not going to hold that against this particular season because we haven't seen him at all. But without Deuce McBride, it creates a negative Jenga for Mike Brown, where no matter where he goes, no matter where he configures the lineup, there always seems to be a problem. There always seems to be a weakest link on the floor, whether it be when you pull Brunson, you don't have the right amount of mix of ball handling and scoring on the floor, or you pull Karl Anthony Towns, you don't necessarily have a backup 5. We didn't have Guerschon Yabusele tonight, Ariel Hukporti, or Josh Hart. It's just too much 4-on-5 basketball. And what teams like the Bucks are going to start to notice is we're going to bring the pressure above the 3-point line. We're going to make you go into the lane and make you score at the rim. And the Knicks are still searching for that 3-point shot. If I'm not mistaken, they shot 23% from 3 tonight. I know that they had, some big threes in the first half by Landry Shamet. Brunson was cooking. But it's just they never found their half court rhythm. And when you can score on the Knicks, what it looks like, and make them defend in the half court and run an offense in the half court, it's not the way that they're comfortable playing, especially without Jalen Brunson on the floor. The Knicks just didn't have the right combination of five to answer what Milwaukee was throwing at them. And they tried their best to stay in the game. It was Jordan Clarkson hitting a three at the end of the fourth quarter to cut it to 2. And then there was a section of the game where Giannis was still on the bench. Brunson came back in the game. He hit a shot to make it 100-101. And then Mikal Bridges got a steal and had a and one and put the Knicks up 2. And at that point, you thought, okay, the Knicks are going to have a spirited victory on the road. And then Jalen Brunson goes down with injury. The Bucks get a layup. And ever since that point, 103-103, you could just tell Giannis had more leverage on these half-court looks, and the Knicks were still searching for comfortable looks. And a lot of part of the difficulty of tonight's game was Karl Anthony Towns was so far from the second option that we needed. He could not score. They were running him off the three-point line. Josh Hart was, of course, on the floor with Karl Anthony Towns, which means that Karl Anthony Towns is going up against these smaller players. You saw it last year with the Tobias Harris. Tonight, it was Kyle Kuzma giving Karl Anthony Towns trouble. You can attribute it to the left quad strain all you want. His moves were rushed. His shot was off. He looked frustrated emotionally and physically. He had one of his worst games as a New York Knick, and amidst all of the rumors, all of the talk of Karl Anthony Towns and Giannis and what that trade would look like, I'm telling you right now, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm hanging up the phone. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to acquire anything on that Knicks side for Giannis. There's no way. I mean, as a Knicks fan, we can entertain it. Maybe Giannis maybe he really wants to come here and play with Brunson, or I don't know. I just don't see it happening. Not after tonight. Maybe I'm overreacting, but why would Milwaukee do that? Nobody could stop Giannis. Giannis was throwing around OG Anunoby on the floor. Now, the Knicks didn't have Mitchell Robinson tonight. And in the past, Mitchell Robinson has actually been able to, obviously he's going to help out. No one's going to stop Giannis, but, he is the size and strength that can run with Giannis. He can bang with him in the post a little bit. So the Knicks did miss Mitchell Robinson. They also missed Deuce. They missed Deuce McBride tonight, who's dealing with a personal matter. Hope everything's well with him. But Giannis was just dominating in a way that we had no answer for him. And like I said, they're going to run the Knicks off the 3-point line. There's the ball handler thing is a concern. The half court sets, it's not looking good for the Knicks right now. They look a little panicked. This is the second game in a row where the second adversities hit them in the real, mud fight of the game, where guys got less room to roam around and it's less free and the court shrinks. There's schematic issues with the Knicks, whether it be Josh Hart being left open and shrinking the floor for our ball handlers, whether it be Ariel Hukporti not being able to show in a pick and roll, just playing 4-on-5 basketball, whether it be Clarkson trying to find his role on this team, or Tyler Kolek not being able to shoot the ball from 3 consistently enough. Mike Brown looking for these non-Brunson minutes. You thought with Clarkson coming here and maybe Kolek, assuming the backup point guard role, or Karl Anthony Towns playing with that second unit, or Mikal Bridges playing with that second unit, you thought that non-Brunson minutes wouldn't be a issue, but it's quickly become an issue in these 2 losses. And I'm sorry, you can't put these last 2 losses on Brunson. He's given you everything you needed and more on the offensive side of the basketball, scoring 37 points tonight, with 7 assists. Nobody could guard him. Unfortunately, I have to take a look at these possessions again at the end of the fourth. This is rapid fire reaction to the game, but it just looked like the Knicks were 2 steps ahead of their own thought process tonight. And you can't win games like that on the road. You have to have composure. You have to have a collective nature about you as a 5-man unit. And too many times it just looked like we were playing 4-on-5. And we're going to have to figure out how to, get the right combinations out there at the right times of the game and not be so reliant on 1 or 2 players. And look, is Karl Anthony Towns going to have 2 for 12 nights where he barely scores the basketball? No, he's going to get his game together, but they have to have a quarterback on the floor that understands, and Karl Anthony Towns plays a huge role in that as well. Like, they have to figure out how to space the floor correctly and what matchups to attack. And like I said, the book is out for me. I can see it, what these teams are going to do. They're going to run Cat off the 3-point line. They're going to run the Knicks off the 3-point line, and they're going to invite them into the paint, and they're going to make them score in the paint. And you saw Kolek with a nice bucket down low, right? But it's not consistent enough. The 3-point shot's great. It's just like baseball. The home run's great, but when the defense ratchets itself up, it's not the best shot. The toughest shot is going to come in the 2-point range. So there's some signs that were good. There were some signs that were ugly. But for me, after tonight's specific game, it lives on an island for me. And that island is these Giannis trade talks don't make any logical sense for the Milwaukee Bucks. They don't. I want way more than what I saw on the other side of the floor for the Knicks. I don't want Karl Anthony Towns for Giannis. I don't want OG Anunoby for Giannis. I don't want Mikal Bridges for Giannis. I don't want Jalen Brunson for Giannis. You're going to have to give me picks. You're going to have to give me those players. You're going to have to, give me a promise of you're going to give me a will and testament. You're going to have to give me, another business on the side. You're going to have to give me everything. Like, this guy was absolutely dominant. They had no answer for him. And the shame is that they did actually pull away with a 12-point lead. And for some reason, at the beginning of the third quarter, they decided to let everybody get hot with Giannis. You can't do that. You got to pick your poison. If he's going to score 40 on 2s, let him score 40 on 2s. But just inefficient half-court offense, difficult substitution patterns without Deuce, without Yabusele, obviously without Mitch. It just did this team in, and they panicked once again late in the game on the road. Sorry, just got a text. But that's it, man. That's it for this team. They got a back-to-back against the Bulls. Next game is Friday night, Halloween. Hopefully we can get back on the winning side of things, because another loss, and now the panic sets in for the fan base. I know these players are tough. I know that they're physically tough. I know they've faced adversity in the past, and it's a new regime, and the adversity is going to feel a little different. And I said that after the Celtics game, that this team is going to play better teams that are more together with their process of what they want to do. And they're going to face adversity, and they're going to have to go through the process of this regular season. My expectations for this season hasn't changed, but the Knicks now are in the learning process of the season, and they have a lot to fix. And they definitely need their guys back in the rotation, whether it be Deuce McBride or Mitchell Robinson. But with that said, they avoided injury with Jalen Brunson, it looks like. So prayers up for our health going forward. Sorry, technical difficulty there, but tough loss. We'll be back Friday night against the Bulls. We start a back-to-back with them. And I want to remind everybody, there was a Knicks season 23-24 that everybody loves so much. That was the season. They also started that season 2-4. So relax, and watch one of my videos on Your Knicks podcast.